everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to talk about 5 daily habits to implement for effective language learning. So if you want to know, then definitely stay tuned. Before we get into this video, just a quick reminder that I am hosting a French retreat this summer in July. I've already announced it on the website lingotravels.com. But I've added new dates at the end of August, so you can join either retreat in July or the retreat in August. Anything you need to know about the retreats is on the website lingotravels.com. You can find it in the description box below. So when learning a new language, it is super important to set goals. I always tell you guys to set mini goals, not to set far-fetched goals that you can't reach, but set mini goals. And with those goals, a lot of people forget to set habits. Personally, I think if not, habits are more important than goals. I've always been setting habits. I've talked about it in this video and on other videos as well. I've always been doing things continuously and consistently, and that is ultimately what got me to speaking that many languages. I was never the type to set a goal. I was never the person to say, I want to speak X amount of languages by the age of whatnot. I've just been doing things on a daily basis for years and years and years, and that is what got me to fluency in so many languages. And I've been doing them unconsciously just because I like it. It's been a natural process. That is why I always focus more on habits rather than on goals. I like to do things on a daily basis, and those things ultimately get me to a goal. Those things ultimately get me to fluency. So with that said, it is more important to set habits because those habits will make or break your goal. For example, if you want to set a goal of getting up earlier, you need to change your habits or create new habits. So you might have to create a habit of not being on the phone late at night. You might have to change the habit of eating late at night, and little things like that. You might have to tweak, either change a habit or create a new habit, because ultimately the habits are what is going to make or break your goal. So focus on the habits. And with that said, the first one is repetition. I see a lot of students don't focus on that enough. A lot of students miss this repetition. I see it, for example, in a German room I've been co-hosting on Clubhouse. Whenever people are speaking and we are correcting them, me and my co-host, they just acknowledge the fact that they made the mistake, or they even excuse themselves, and we always tell them to not say sorry because it's normal to make mistakes, but then they just go on. And we're always there to kindly ask them, please, can you repeat what we just corrected you on? Because the repetition is so important. It is important that you hear yourself speak and you hear yourself say the whole sentence, how it's being said correctly, how, in this case, a German person would say it correctly. So when we correct them, they're always just oh yeah, okay, oh sorry. But then we're okay, waiting for them to repeat. I see that also with language classes I've been giving, for example on a retreat, that people would just say oh okay, I see, but then they wouldn't repeat what I actually corrected them on. They wouldn't repeat the whole sentence again. That's why I always stressed so much, please, can you repeat again? And sometimes I even feel like I'm getting on people's nerves because I'm always there, please, can you repeat? Can you repeat? But this is so important to repeat. And it's also important to do that when you're by yourself. Not only when you're with someone, not only when you're making mistakes, but also when you're hearing something being said in your target language. For example, I'm learning Italian currently, so whenever whatever I would hear in Italian, I would repeat it out loud to myself. I hear people having a conversation, I hear a song, I repeat it a bunch of times until I get it in my system, and then it's just there. And then sometimes it would just come out randomly, because it is something that I've been hearing so many times and I've been repeating it so often that it just sticks to me naturally. And that is something you need to get in the habit of doing on a daily basis. Whatever you hear in your target language, just repeat it out loud, repeat it consistently, always, as much as possible, 10 times, 20 times if you need to, but just repeat. Okay, numero dos is getting into the habit of making it fun. Like, get into the habit of using the language you're learning for something fun. For example, when I would used to learn languages in school, we would used to do or like read kind of like boring things, things that I would not always be interested in. Like, for example, read like a Spanish text about whatnot, things we're not necessarily always interested in. That's why a lot of people have a hard time learning languages in school, because you're forced on doing something or like reading and learning something you're not really interested in. So I would go home and make it interesting for me. So I would go home and, for example, look up something I genuinely like and I'm interested in French or like in Spanish. I like Spanish music, so I would look up like for songs or things like that, and I would make the language interesting to me. So what is interesting to me, what is fun to me, cannot be what is fun to you. So you need to figure out for yourself, and you need to know what is fun to you, and then try, like, not even try, involve your target language into what is fun to you. That is also a very important habit to get into, to do it daily, to do anything. For example, someone told me they would look up articles about, I don't know, something about space and moon, whatnot, in the language they were learning. That is something that is a topic that was interesting to them. And like this, they would learn, So whatever really is interesting to you, you can use that for your target language. So that is something you need to get into the habit of doing. Using your language, actually, using it for something you do on a daily basis that is interesting to you. Punto número tres. So point number 3 is reviewing. A lot of people also miss this point of reviewing. So whenever you hear something, it goes along with the point of repetition. So a lot of people don't repeat enough, and then a lot of people also don't review enough. So for example, when you review something on a daily basis, it is way more like probable to stick to you, and you're less likely to just forget it in a situation where you actually need to use the language. So if you're repeating out things on a daily basis and you're reviewing, for example, words and expressions you've been hearing, things that just stick out to you, you write them down, review them. Like, for example, I have been telling you guys that I've been, doing Italian, like relearning Italian. So what I do, I have this little notebook just dedicated for Italian. So whatever I hear in Italian, whatever sticks out to me, is interesting to me, I just write it down, and then I also review it. Like, I go over it like on a daily basis, like 10 minutes or something. I just like look at what I wrote down. That's it, basically. So no need to sit down and really like study, but I just look at what I've been writing, and that's it. So the more often you do it, the more you will notice that like things stick to you naturally, because you write things down, and then like a week later or so, you might look at the thing you wrote down a week ago, and you might be like, oh, but that was easy. Right now, I know this, So things like that are super important to do them on a daily basis. Another habit to get into is to look at the mistakes you're making, but not like scrutinize your mistakes, but look at what kind of mistakes you're making. By kind of knowing what kind of mistakes you're making, you are also more likely to prevent those mistakes the next time. So for example, when I was learning Spanish, I used to always make a mistake of implementing the subjuntivo. Those of you who are learning either French or Spanish know what the subjuntivo is. Subjunctive in English, I think. That is very particular to the Spanish language, and I used to get this wrong all the freaking time. And so I would focus on it so much because I wanted to get it right, you know. So I would always use it and use it as much as possible. And whenever I would speak to like people, my friends, they would correct me on it, but I would keep on using it just like until the time I got it right, you know. So this is something, if you're conscious about the mistakes you're making, you're less likely to make them again when you like analyze why you're making them. And this is, for example, this mistake of the subjunctive. I was making it because in German there is no such thing, you know, and I was wondering like, why do they use it to talk about the future? Things like that I wouldn't understand, you know, but the more I was using it, the more I would understand. And here comes also the next habit, and that is to actually use the language. So for example, a lot of people just get the input, they listen, they do all the things, they study, they learn, but then they don't really use it. So you need to use it in your own way. So be creative, like in ways you would like to express yourself. So whatever you hear or listen to, whatever you repeat, it doesn't make no sense if you don't use it for yourself to construct your own thoughts. Everything, you know, what gets into you also needs to get out of you. So for example, if you're learning these new expressions and vocab, try to construct sentences on your own. Everything I've been learning, everything I've been hearing, like expressions in Italian, I would repeat them out loud, and then I would like, you know, kind of make up my own scenarios and just say them, you know. Whenever there's a situation where I feel like, oh, okay, that's what I could say in this situation, I just say it then in Italian. And that is something that you kind of make your own role game. You kind of construct your own sentences, your own thoughts, everything you want to express in that language. So try to really use that language by constructing your own sentences and thoughts. All right, those were 5 habits. Of course, there are more. If you want more, then definitely leave a thumbs up for this video. And thank you so much for watching. And also, if you have other things you do, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.